So tell us about what we got going on today.
We're talking about sketchbook zines, I guess, or they're not all zines.
Yeah, you called this meeting to order here about sketchbooks, right?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about cartoonist sketchbooks particularly, like
sure.
people who make comics.
That's awesome.
But also keep a sketchbook. Like there are people who just draw and they make zines of their drawings, and that's great. And then there's other people who are cartoonists and their primary output is comics, but they also keep a sketchbook. And then one of my favorite things to find at shows and in shops is people like cartoonists in particular, publishing their sketchbooks. It's something that I do, that I like to do, and I'm just interested in it. Like I want the dark, weird stuff. I want like the, I almost feel like
I haven't seen this. This is probably worth a penny.
Oh yeah, that book is amazing. But I guess I'm also just interested in like why people keep sketchbooks, because I think there's people keep them for different purposes. Some of them are for planning, some of them are for just screwing around. Sometimes people keep like secret sketchbooks full of drawings that like either they're not ashamed of, but like maybe don't feel like are good for public consumption or something. Like they might be like more erotic or something like that. So yeah, I just got a whole smattering of stuff here, and
awesome.
Thought that'd be fun to kind of check them out.
You asked me, you were like, let's do a sketchbook zine one, and I was like, okay, cool. And I looked through my collection, and I have like one sketchbook. Meanwhile, I have hundreds of my own sketchbooks that no one's ever seen. Like to what you were mentioning before. This is Nielsen, huh?
Yeah, so this is Anders Nielsen, and this is an interesting one for me because, not throwing any shade or anything, but like Anders' comics are like not totally for me, like not totally my thing.
Oh, I really like Anders comics.
But I love how he draws. I like adore his drawings so much. And so this came with one of the Tongues issues. It's a process zine. And just really fantastic, like pen to paper drawing. I remember reading the Big Numbers comics, which I do like those ones, and reading some interview about how he was talking about how he just draws those pen to paper. We talked about this when we were talking about some of the Made in New York artists, about talking pen to paper and like just being really spontaneous with it, and that kind of effect you get from that.
Yeah, the line is lively then, right? And
yeah.
It looks, whenever I draw straight pen to paper, I do get a different quality than when I plan it out with pencil first. For sure. And I mean, sometimes I want to ask people about this, but I wonder if some cartoonists think that like that stuff is not meant to be seen, or I always feel like I'm prying a little bit looking at this stuff. And it is very personal. Like sketchbooks always feel very personal.
Yeah, and vulnerable, and
that's part of their appeal, right? And I mean, that's part of what draws you to them, I imagine, is that you are getting a kind of behind the scenes glimpse into not only their thoughts and feelings, but their failures and like the things they're trying out.
Mm-hmm. And then something funny happens too when you publish then when you publish a zine of material that was maybe never intended to be seen, you're now kind of looking through the stuff that wasn't intended to be seen and deciding like why it should be seen again. Like when you make a sketchbook zine, you're also cutting stuff out, right? You're deciding that some of the secret stuff should go in a book, some of it should not. And what's the metric for like what makes it into the book or not?
Right.
What's the cutoff? I'd love to have. And so yeah, a lot of these too are people like character design stuff, right? You design characters in a sketchbook that then later become part of the story.
Do you find yourself, when you're working in your sketchbooks, do you find yourself drawing similar things over and over and over and over again? Are there images in your books, for instance, in your sketchbooks, that you've been drawing since you were a kid, like some iteration of a thing that has evolved over time, but is very much a similar thing?
It's a good question. I don't know if it's a specific thing that I've drawn repeatedly, but there's definitely like if you were to look at my that's Sophie Franz. Their stuff is amazing. I actually just ordered some more stuff from them.
This is beautiful.
Hoping that it came here before this, but it didn't quite get here in time. No, totally fine. I don't know if I draw the same things, but I think the way I draw things is recognizable. Like the way I draw like a fist I can identify that as like, I remember the day I learned how to draw a hand holding something was looking at like a Ninja Turtles comic and being like, oh, I understand the thumb goes in front and now it looks like it's holding it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when I'm teaching the kids, they're always like, no, show me how to hold, I want to hold a sword. And I'm like, okay, yeah, what direction do you want to hold the sword from? I want it like this. And then like that's the first thing every kid wants to draw is like,
because they have like
holding a thing.
When they first start drawing, they draw that like if this is their hand and this is like the weapon, it's just like sitting on top.
Yeah, it's laying on top of their hand, right? That's right.
But a fist grabbing a thing,
sword.
That's that's a complicated drawing, right? There's foreground, middle ground, and background.
That's right.
And like overlap.
You got to lay that in there. Yeah, that's right. I met Eric at Tea Cafe.
Cool. Let's look at that book, like in more specificity.
All right, we'll dial in.
I got that at Partners and Sons after
this is newish then, yeah?
I don't know if it's new, but it's new to me. I've actually never read any of Eric's comics. I've seen that Spa book around, which looks really rad.
They were doing promo for that when it was TCAF time. So this is Limbo. And this
I love the binding on this.
Little spot varnish.
Open binding.
Right, yeah, that's nice. And some spot varnish there. Or these are decals?
I think they might be decals.
Oh, that is cool.
I have not tried to take them off.
I love that. No, I mean, why would you? But like, that's fantastic. Yeah. Like the idea of like putting stickers on as your title. This is beautiful.
Incredible, right? Okay, so this I think is a great example too, because this book is all of the things we just talked about. It's illustrations that work on their own. It's like preliminary sketches for other stuff.
Oh, these are so good.
Yeah, the line work is just so gnarly, but so like tactile and lived in. Like these spaces this guy creates are really incredible.
I love and all the horror elements too, like the body horror, the stuff that they're doing in their books as well. Yeah, really intense, really dark. Eric, we gotta sit down and talk comics sometime. So you gotta come on.
Yeah, really, really amazed by
next time you're in New York, let us know
for sure.
This is so cool. Oh my god, I love this. You know, I don't know. We were talking about this in one of the previous episodes. It's like, what makes you want to draw? Does it light the fire? This makes me want to draw. 100%. Oh my goodness, I like want to stop recording and go draw right now. I love the melty. Oh, so cool.
Yeah, there are some books that I like don't allow myself to look at before I go to bed because it just like makes my brain go nuts and then I can't fall asleep.
This is so good.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of this stuff is observational that he's then twisted around into something else,
or just a lifelong of drawing. It looks like to me. Yeah. So it's like a lifetime drawing, and now you have this deep reservoir, and when you want to call up images, you can, and they just kind of flow freely. I think that's the kind of thing that we don't talk about very much as people who draw, but this getting to this point where you don't have to, you've internalized all the shapes and forms. And so when you want to make a hand holding a duck that's wearing a wig, like you know how to create those forms.
Sure.
I was just talking in class today, we were doing how to draw a bear. And I was saying, who knows what a form is? And the kids are like, the thing that they make you fill out? And I'm like, no.
So that's how I get to go to the museum.
That's right. And he goes, I don't want to relive filling out forms. I was like, okay, well, that's not what we're talking about.
That's funny. Wait, go back to the duck real quick, because I think that's a great point. But sometimes it's like, I don't know, I'm going to draw a hand holding a duck. Exactly. Right? I'll draw the hand. That's it. Because I love drawing hands. Hey, okay, so hands. You asked me about that earlier. I love drawing hands.
Yeah, me too.
So I might draw the hand first, and then, it looks like a hand is like gently holding something. Like it's not crushing something.
Right. So
and then like, what would you hold gently? All right, how about a duck? Duck is boring. Why don't we give the duck some hair? You know what I mean? It's like you build it that way.
Yeah, it's like improv. You're saying like yes, and you're saying like, oh, I have this army of skeletons. Well, where would they be? Oh, they'd be in maybe in a tailor's office or like in these files.
Dry cleaner or something?
Yeah, dry cleaner. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, is it skin going to get bones from the dry cleaner? This is incredible.
That's exactly what it is. Skin suits getting their bones, picking up their bones from the dry cleaner. Fantastic.
And this all may have started by drawing one skull.
Right.
And then be like, I'm going to draw another skull, another one. And it's like, it's this idea of drawing and thinking at the same time, and you're responding to the drawing. Like you're in dialogue with the drawing while you're doing it.
I love how jelly all the skulls are too. They're all mushy and mushed.
Yeah, and this is not, it's in the same ballpark I think as Anders Nielsen's work, where it's like those little marks that create surface. So it's not just outline; they're like tactile little marks that create those surfaces. I guess
I talk about this sometimes when I'm teaching. I'm saying you do one set of lines to show a surface. You'll do another set of lines to give volume, and then you'll do a third set of lines to give texture. And so I think about that often as a way to relate that. Yeah, exactly. One direction gives surface, one direction gives volume, and the other direction gives texture.
Interesting. I've actually never thought about it that way. That's cool.
I find that that's how people can accept the information, right? Yeah, that's not a rule. It's just like, how do I explain it? Like, how do you explain cross-hatching? People think, yeah, it's decoration, maybe, but actually you're informing what the terrain is. It's all contour, cross-contour, right? So
and you're giving yourself like a set of, not rules, but guidelines where like, I know that every time a flat surface shows up, it's going to be this. Or, anytime it's in the background, it's going to have this. You're giving yourself these little checkboxes.
Just enough scaffolding or structure so that you're organizing information in a way that makes sense for the page,
right?
For the actual image, like it's consistent in the logic of the picture.
And those are things that I think every artist kind of comes to. Yeah. Wow. Also, I love Eric's digital colors too. I'm really not a fan of digital colors, but the way they do it is like just really smart and like works really well with the drawing. It doesn't look like he's just filling in a drawing. It's like he's adding just the slightest little bit of contrast and depth to it. Yeah, tension is a good way.
Really skillful too. This is great. These look like those old like pictures you'd see of people in the like 1800s, you know, that have like come back from war or whatever, or like Wild West,
Ellis Island or something.
Yeah, wild. Oh, this is so intense.
Really incredible.
All these faces like melting and being torn apart are pretty intense.
While still being like vaguely cartoony. This is that great Venn diagram of like it's cartooning, but it's also kind of
terrifying,
fleshy and terrifying. Yeah.
This is fantastic stuff. Yeah. Wow.
Something about this book too makes me really want to draw more interiors. Like a lot of my sketchbook is
this unicorn tattoo.
That's fantastic.
So goofy.
A lot of what I do is I don't give any context to the drawings in my sketchbook. It's more like playing with form and playing with bodies and stuff. And something about this book really makes me want to give them space and put them in space.
I noticed too, part of the way that, to me anyway, the way that this appears, they're building these logic, it almost looks like a cubert. Like, it's like like squares on squares on squares.
Oh, I thought you meant like Andy Kubert.
No. I meant Kubert, the orange jumping, like jumps on all those blocks, you know?
Yeah.
I like get this just from this. I think that's where that thought came from, was this specific drawing, because you have the levels and squares. It's an old video game, an old
I know what you're talking about. Just we're talking comics. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
But it's a smart way to do it too. Like he's giving himself, or any artist that creates that space, you're giving them places then tuck other little things. It's again engaging with the space, and when you give a character an action, you know, this woman may have been the first person that was drawn. And is looking this way. Now your eye is going this way. So now it's like, okay, clearly the scene is over here. And really if it were me, I would have just drawn another person here and then another something over here. And so, like, they're all kind of disparate. And I like the idea of the sketchbook scene is something I would like to do more.
This is really great.
Yeah, I fell in love with this book immediately. I got this at Partners and Son.
It's beautiful.
They carry, I think, all of his work pretty regularly.
Yeah, Partners and Son in Philly, really cool shop. I think we're going to go down there at some point and say hey.
Yeah, that show was really fun.
It was a great show.
It was great.
So he's in Sweden.
Yeah.
All right, next time
very
affordable.
Very affordable. Very well priced, I think.
Thanks, Eric. This rules.
Yeah, super cool. What else do I got over here?
Yeah, what do you got over there?
This one...
I only brought one book, so we'll save mine.
I really wanted to talk about Sophie's work. Because I think Sophie's one of those artists that... I think a lot of people, especially artists on Instagram, have their, like, why isn't this person super famous? You know, in the back of their mind. And Sophie's like definitely that person. I don't know them personally at all. But I actually don't know where I saw their work first. It may have just been on Instagram. But the sketchbook pages that they post on Instagram are like unbelievable. And
very cool.
Like similar, I think, to Eric's style. You can definitely tell that I have like a thing that I gravitate towards.
Sure.
But the way these pages are filled up with color, in addition to that kind of mark making, I think is just really.
I like when artists use
dazzling.
One big solid color like that. I mean, that's really awesome.
Mixed with this gorgeous like landscape. Painting.
That almost looks like a Munch painting.
Yeah, so I think the Limbo book is a lot about form, like you were talking about, and surface and tactile thing. I think a lot about this is also about that, but it's also about material exploration. So it's how to create those forms in more than just mark making.
Is this a nod to Ben Morrow in there?
Maybe
the Krang man.
Oh, it might be.
I'm just kidding.
That was the fragile male masculinity or whatever,
which is had its viral moment.
Yeah.
Very
and
cool.
One, I think, like a Society of Illustrators award or something.
Oh, really?
Or he's nominated.
Congrats.
I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. But just the way these these pages are filled too. Like I feel like I can understand or guess how the Limbo pages are put together. These ones I can't pick like a starting point, which I think is really cool.
This reminds me a little bit, at least in its kind of varying, like you were saying, varying materials and forms. It reminds me a little bit of the Chris Ware
for sure
sketchbooks, the Acme Novelty Library ones.
Yeah, which are definitely like the most ambitious. Well, I don't want to say the most. I guess like the Crumb. There's a million Crumb sketchbooks out there too.
Yeah, those were put up by Taschen. You know, Taschen was having a sale where they were selling them for $20 a piece, and I was like, I'll get them later. Yeah, right. They're out of print and they're hundreds of dollars now.
Yeah, bummer.
Cool. Good job.
Yeah, but it's also this stuff flows so smoothly too.
It's
like
really nice.
It feels like I don't know how maybe this was done 6 months before that or something like that.
Yeah.
But it just has like I feel this book is not that long, right?
I don't connect my sketches that well. I don't think.
I don't either. That's another thing. That's an ambition.
That's something I don't really do. I'll do a drawing or two. I don't connect them all together.
And just also like working in different styles here too. Like any page in this you could identify as Eric's work, I think.
Sure.
Whereas this is like, Sophie's almost working as like several different artists.
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
once.
It's wildly disparate. It like each page looks a little different than the one previous.
Yeah, it's so expressive.
Really cool.
I think a lot of this is gouache and watercolor. With like
sense.
this one, I
Some
think it's
colored pencil.
painting and colored pencil. These like fun,
Amazing use
covers.
of color though.
Yeah, just
really
really
beautiful.
blows me away. I've looked at this book a lot, and it's not that long. And it's just it's one of those things where every time I pick it up, there's something else.
It is really inspiring. I totally understand the draw of the artist sketchbook now. Like I got it before, but I just didn't really. I guess I haven't really put as much emphasis on it as like part of my collection.
Yeah, it's just something I'm always
really
seeking out because it's just raw. It's raw drawing too. Like whenever I pick up a comic that looks cool, I'm always a little nervous that it's not going to be cool. A lot of times it is cool and it's interesting and that's great.
Yeah.
It's like a pleasant surprise. But with a sketchbook, there's almost like if you think it looks cool, it is cool. You don't have to worry about
that's fair.
delivering in a narrative way.
You don't have any expectations, right? So it'll just go places you didn't expect it to go.
Yeah,
and that's rewarding.
The other thing I like seeing too is like you start to wonder if maybe Sophie's been reading like what's that guy's name? Tim Lane. Have you read any
I'm
of
not
that
familiar,
stuff?
no.
Or even like Clowes or something like this kind of brush work is so
yeah,
tight.
yeah. I thought Klaus for a second
Or
too,
Charles
but
Burns or something. It's like you can kind of guess like, oh, maybe Sophie's been reading that comic and wanted to try that out because I have that feeling too, of like, oh, I'm reading something, I want to try to make those marks.
Yeah. Like let's explore what that is. Like, just like we were talking about previously with Eric's, it's like this makes me want to draw. That makes me want to draw. Let's draw like that, and let's see where it takes us.
Yeah, I love this shadow here is so great.
That's cool. You wouldn't think like using blue like that against the purple really works.
Yeah, but again, like it feels like an exploration. It's like, oh, let me test this out, so I have this in my back pocket for later, for if I'm thinking about colors. It's what do they call it? The visual vocabulary, where you're like once you've tried it out, you kind of stash it in your brain, and so it triggers something next time you want to use it. And I mean, these three things here like are three very different styles. Right, there's this cartoony like Mad Magazine kid, this kind of scratchy villain, and then like the texture on this painting here. But they all work.
Yeah, and then it comes together almost like a Disney cartoon or something, or it comes together like a weird Fleischer Brothers mashup.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Anyway, Sophie, big fan of Sophie. I just ordered some more of their work. It's coming soon.
Amazing.
Maybe we'll look at it again
So
another
cool.
time. That's a great one.
Yeah, we'll check that out.
What else we got over here?
What's the one on top?
This is Jillian Tamaki.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them.
I don't know if this is totally
really
a sketch.
cool.
If this counts, I guess it does. But this is predominantly comics, but it has a lot of sketches in it.
Oh, I haven't read this one. When did this come out?
Question. 2010.
Whoa, 2010. All right.
Yeah, drawn in quarterly. Petit Livre. I don't know if that's like a series they have or whatever. Look at that gorilla, though. I mean,
Little book.
Yeah, oh, you speak French.
I mean,
Parlez-vous?
I can figure that much out. I don't speak French.
Yeah. Oh, wet media too. Something.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I did across the street. I did a little class in watercolor, and it was very fun. I hadn't really worked in watercolor before.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like autobio comics are more. They're more delightful to me sometimes in a sketchbook book. Because I know they were kind of done just for them. And
I like when they're rough because the immediacy of it lends itself to what just happened. Because if you can get it down while it's still fresh in your brain, it lives on the page in a different way than when you practice it and sketch it.
It's like you're capturing it rather than like, I got to post my journal today.
Yes. I find that
That's true.
yeah, that's great. I find that to be true. Like if I can get an idea down while it's fresh in my mind and it's all rough, it makes for a better comic.
Yeah, and just like so free. Like a drawing like this may have been done. You know, there's something about drawing in your sketchbook that's not intended for anyone else. Where you're like, I can draw anything I want. I can draw naked people. I can draw people blowing their whatever brains out. I can make it violent. I can make.
I thought you were gonna say blowing their nose.
You could do that too. Blowing their
make a
brains
good-
out of their nose.
that
But
would
like,
make a good sketchbook.
there's a freedom here that I think a lot of. I don't think people suppress it, but it's tough. It's tough for the freedom of a sketchbook to come through in the final work.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm writing in my sketchbooks, I'm still thinking about posterity, and I'm still writing thinking someone might see this at some point.
Interesting.
Which I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, and I now that I make sketchbook zines too, I definitely draw in my sketchbook differently, and you have to kind of untrain your brain
Yeah.
to think of it as something someone is going to see to get back to the free
For sure.
the free zone where you can kind of do whatever, because there you start to kind of think like, oh, this page needs to be a little more polished or whatever.
That's great.
Yeah, so good.
love
It's like
that.
collage a little bit, maybe some fabric in here.
I
too.
love a collage comic.
Yeah, same. I know that Juliet. That's great. It's fantastic. I saw that Juliet Colette's doing some more collage comics, which are looking.
Oh, I was encouraging one of my students to do more collage comics. That was their medium.
Yeah. So this is the stuff I'm always looking for, is like the pervy stuff that people tuck into their sketchbook.
Yeah.
It's great. And I know Jillian is
Those
like
are beautiful.
quite the illustration creator.
Yes.
But in
I love
books, I
those.
think that are. Well, I haven't read that many of her books, but my impression is that they're not as maybe adult oriented as some of this stuff is. Not that that's a bad thing, but like it's just like this feels a little more.
When I first read Super Mutant Magic Academy, I was like, I love this book.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
Really funny. Like they seem like a really funny,
Yeah, they seem like
funny person.
someone who'd be fun to hang out with.
Yeah. So this is not a sketchbook zine, but this person I wanted to talk about, excuse me, Joseph Lambert. This is just a regular comic, but I'll put this in the video. Joseph Lambert's sketchbooks on Instagram are out of control.
Okay.
He makes all his own books. We don't talk about it for long because I can't show it right now. But
Sure.
He makes all his own books. It's all like multiple different kinds of papers. He draws like his own grids on them, and he does all this exploratory typography with these different pens and stuff.
That sounds amazing.
You got to check that out. I'll send it
Oh,
to you.
I'm into
It's
it. I
incredible.
really want to. Yeah. So
Great
you're-
cartoonist too.
So Joseph Lambert. Okay.
Joseph Lambert.
And it looks like submarine.com. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
What else we got over here?
Cool,
We got
let's look at that.
the Kate Bean
Yeah,
sketchbook.
yeah.
This is published by Desert Island.
Oh, cool.
I think I got this at
I've heard of them.
Cab a while ago. Yeah, Gabe's been. I don't know if you've been. Whoa,
Kitty!
cat on the table.
What's up? You want to be part of the video?
I don't know if you saw lately, but Gabe's been trying to catalog like everything
I
they've
did see
ever
that,
published.
Yeah, like there was a couple things in their stories about.
Yeah. But talk about like raw
I love
autobio
that,
stuff.
yeah.
It's just like so quick.
Why
like
do I even have a desk?
yeah, just like so quick. I mean, everything Kate Beaton has drawn in this era to me is just like instantly hilarious. There's something about the pose and the eyes
Yeah.
that just is. It has that like Far Side quality where just they could be doing literally anything. It just looks funny.
Dr. Mike.
Oh yeah. And this I think is almost all comics, but they're amazing. Like they're so funny. I haven't read her Ducks book, but there's something about that style that appeals to me less than stuff like this.
You know, I have ducks. I was given to it, rather, it was given to me not this Christmas, but last Christmas. Haven't read it yet. I opened it up. I read a couple pages, and I was like, I'll read that later.
Yeah, I'm really not in like a graphic novel zone.
Yeah.
I don't know if that will return or not, but I really just want like little bits. Yeah, I mean, look at that. It's just perfect.
So
like
fun.
I want that tattoo.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good.
Just like the wonky eyes and stuff, and you can tell that was just dashed off.
Totally.
That's a 45 seconds.
That's a quick
that
drawing.
kid went down.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's perfect. The expression's
great.
perfect. That's how kids operate.
That's how kids draw too.
Yeah. Yeah, it does have a kid. It has a very polished, not polished. It has a very like accomplished kid-like quality.
Yeah, I think, and when I mentioned that, I was saying like, what I like about the way kids draw is that it's unabashed, it's direct. They just start drawing. They're not thinking. They're just like putting down their ideas like really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's always so fun and honest. And that's the vibes I'm getting here too.
Totally. And I don't know if any of this was meant to be published or shared or anything. I just love this like naked lady with the goose. It's so good.
Yeah, this is fantastic. I've never seen this.
Oh, it's really funny.
This is so cool.
Every joke in here totally lands and is just delightful. And yeah, I wonder too if I know Kate does a lot of research or did a lot of research for some of those comics, because you had like the Hark of Vagrant comics and stuff. Or maybe not research, but it's like at least stuff that they were interested in reading.
Sure.
And so I wonder if sometimes these come out of that, like maybe they'll keep a sketchbook next to the book while they're reading. Actually, I should start doing that. But like, will you get a little idea or a little joke or something, you just want to jot it down, and I wonder if this kind of pours out of.
I try to do that as much as I can. I have several notes files in my folder, but I prefer to do it in physical books.
This is interesting too, because I feel like these have less life to them, these drawings, because they're a little more polished.
Interesting.
Than even something like this. Earl of Sandwich.
I love that. That's so great.
It's a great face. I love these.
That's great.
I may have looked at this book a little too much. I sometimes try I think my brain subconsciously just tries to dash off these little
internalizing.
Faces. Yeah. So good. Yeah, so I hope that Kate still keeps a sketchbook. I have no idea. They don't post. They're not big on social media.
Well, they won so many awards for their book. They're probably busy trying to deal with that, like touring, doing promotion for it, right?
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah. I got no problem with it.
I think it's great.
Butt meeting.
I want everyone to win. Butt meeting.
Yeah, I love that book.
This is fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad you showed this. This is wonderful.
I
brought one.
Okay.
I have one. Okay. I looked through my thing and I have one, and it's another Desert Island production, actually.
Gabe, keep publishing sketchbooks.
Gabe is always doing stuff, and we love him for it. This is Wildest Dream by Gary Panter. Very much a sketchbook zine. I got this signed by Gary.
Whoa, shit.
And he was like, what do you want me to draw in there? And I go, I don't know, like a wizard? And he goes, I like lizards too. And he drew lizards in there. Nice. Which is great. A great little story. So that was fun.
Bless Gary Panter, our elder statesman.
Yeah, Gary Panter. Gotta love him.
Legend.
Just amazing drawings. I mean, like, really fun. Like we were saying, like, full of life. I think if there's anyone who does that thing where they are able to go back to the type of drawing, right? Gary does it.
Totally.
Like, he can just do that. That's his thing. He turns it on.
The motion in that is
amazing.
Incredible.
Gary draws like it's like direct connect to consciousness kind of drawing.
But also, like, this is another thing too, where like maybe Gary was reading a lot of manga.
Yeah.
A lot of like 60s, 70s manga at this time, and he just wanted to kind of do the lines, try the lines out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Test the lines out.
I got one of these for my brother as well.
Yeah, this was the thing I saw. It was another thing I was like, I'll get it later, and then I kept forgetting. I never did.
And then it goes out of print.
I think you can still track this one down.
Oh yeah? Maybe Gabe has a couple copies left.
Or like, who's the...
It's like the Rat Fink?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, RF right there.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of... I know some cartoonists will like... to warm up, they'll like sketch a panel from someone else's comic, or they'll look at something and then...
I do that.
Yeah?
Well, I don't do it to warm up. I just do it as studies. Like, I'll draw Harriman... I'll just like do a study of a Harriman piece, or do a study of an Alex Toth drawing, or like whatever is on my desk, right? Yeah. Whatever I'm into at that moment.
Shift here.
Yeah, it's cool. And this is like something we saw from him, like Raw Magazine days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it has like a MoMA feel to it.
And so I was happy that I had just even one sketchbook, zine book, and from one of the greats, I get to contribute.
This is awesome. I have to spend more time with this book.
Yeah, so I don't think, not many people have seen it, but now that we're looking at this, I mean, like we were saying before, like, I see Tangeman coming out of something like that, I see some of the other artists we were looking at, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like in previous videos, and that's, I guess, what I was referencing, trying to do everybody a solid and connect some dots.
Yeah, and not overthinking, not over-laboring, like really just getting the marks down and kind of seeing... That's a tricky thing to recommend, too. I mean, I always say to people, like, if anytime someone asks me, like, how do I get better at drawing? I always say just draw in pen. Like, that's a lot of what I recommend to people. But it's also, that can... I don't know, there's some kind of middle ground between, like, having something be raw and spontaneous and something being kind of like, well, I did it, so it's good enough. You know, like, I still believe in trying to improve in things, whatever improvement means to you. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here. There's a not trying hard enough version of that, I think, too. But maybe that might just be my own personal taste.
I feel like I tell people when they're like, how do I get better at drawing? I say, draw people that you see, draw everything. Just keep drawing. Like, draw people you see on the train, draw from life.
Yeah.
And just keep drawing. You should be drawing every day.
Do you recommend tools or anything?
I just kind of, I don't. I think if I say don't draw with crayons and don't draw with ballpoint pens.
Okay.
But use anything else, whatever you have laying around.
I know ballpoint pens.
I think that ballpoint pens aren't good for like practice because they are not stable. They're like not archival, and they also like smudge really easily. I don't know. They're frustrating to me.
Interesting.
Also, I used to draw on ballpoint pens, so maybe I have
You're sick of it?
Yeah, maybe I just have like a secret disdain for that's the cover, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I draw with ballpoint pen from time to time. I think it's cool because it's like a pencil and a pen at the same time.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know, I guess...
Wait, what is it? Was this like a...
Looks like...
Oh, I thought this was like a Santoro, like, composition
interesting.
experiment.
It feels like, yeah, they're like laying out, these are like their thumbnails. Omega Unknown Chapter 7.
Oh, yeah, that was a, oh, God. Farrell Dalrymple did the artwork for it. Jonathan Lethem wrote it.
Cool.
And then I think he did a cover for it.
Interesting.
I think Gary Painter did a cover.
It looks like he's also doing some breakdowns for it.
Yeah, maybe he laid out, or maybe he did a backup story. Actually, I have that. I can look it up.
All right, we'll pull it up for next time.
I'm a big fan of Farrell's work. I have one of his little sketchbook things here too.
Yeah, so this is great. I mean, look at this book. It's beautiful. A lot of fun drawing. And I think, I got this for my brother because he was saying, like, he was doodling during meetings. And he's like, what should I do? Like, how do I doodle more? Like, what should I look at? And I was like, oh, I got one for you.
Yeah.
Look at Gary Panter. Because I think that this work is encouraging. Like, I think it speaks to that same impulse that we were talking about, the compulsion to draw. And it fuels that. I think you see something like this and you go, I want to do that, It's freeing in that way.
Yeah.
So...
And it makes you want to explore. It makes you want to, like, dive
shows
into
you
a page.
anything's possible, right?
Totally.
Great.
This Joe Grillo book.
Oh, cool.
Not a zine, but this thing makes me want to draw like crazy. Let's
take a look.
These were originally, I guess, published in some form or another in Paper Rodeo.
Okay.
As collages. So I guess what he does is he jams out on these sketchbook pages.
Nice.
And goes wild. It's all pen.
I see the conversation from the previous.
And then in the back there's a couple examples of the Paper Rodeos are like he chops them up.
Oh,
and then
sweet.
Becomes something else. So I was talking to
That's cool.
The guy from Neoglyphic Media, whose name
name
escapes me.
At the Pioneer Work Show?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was talking to him briefly about this book because they published this book.
Oh, cool.
And he described Joe's drawings as fuel for other artwork, which I thought was really cool. Because that means, like, these drawings are never finished. It's just stuff you can use for other things.
That's what I should do with all my drawings, because I don't want to get rid of them. I should just make them into giant pieces.
Chop them up,
and then make those into giant originals.
Yeah. But these drawings are amazing. There's a few little bits of collage here and there.
That's fantastic.
But I can't recommend this book highly enough. I looked at this a lot last year after I got it. And it's
really cartoony too, which I like.
Super cartoony, but it's also that, like, I saw a cereal box character and I'm just gonna slap it down here without looking at it again. Mm-hmm. It has like a memory component to it of like these are just things I've seen. I'm not like staring at the reference.
It'd be cool to give some of this to kids too and see where they go from here.
Oh yeah,
like Xerox off a couple pages and be like go nuts.
Totally, and I feel like I've seen kids draw like this.
I have
not with this level of facility, but
right. But
just using black shapes and patterns mixed together with
drawings. Like kids are always trying to do this, right? To their own kind of like limited ability, whatever that is.
For sure. But I love this book. Another thing you could look at forever and never find all the stuff.
That's cool, yeah.
It's like really Easter egg hunt. Really makes me want to draw. This is not a before bed book. Keep me up all night.
What do you do before bed? Like some Chris Claremont X-Men?
I don't know anymore, man. I've had a really hard time sleeping lately. I don't know if it's because we're working on this or I just got all these ideas for stuff.
Oh, your brain's a bubbling.
It's just going nuts.
Is that what's happening?
I can't calm down. I was looking at this book the other day, which I don't think I can look at anymore. I posted this on our stories.
Oh yeah,
this
yeah,
Lupin
yeah, I
book.
saw that.
And I'm not gonna go through this again, but I saw the tiniest little thing. First of all, this book is incredible. But in the back he talks about how all of his paintings are drawings. I don't know if it's because he uses a small brush, but he says like whatever you want to call it, it's still drawing.
I love that.
And then in extremely tiny print, I don't know if you can see this, but I can scan it. It says, "This is still my sketchbook."
I love that so much.
Which is just the best.
It also says "to be continued" all the way on the left side too.
Yeah. So like, and this painting is like 4 feet by 3 feet long.
I also like that it's called Dino Asshole.
Yeah. Well, that's only chapter 6. Dino Asshole, chapter 7. Then chapter 5. I just love this sentiment of just like all my work is my sketchbook.
That's so cool.
And it's always in progress.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Moving.
Can we look? Do we want to look at a couple of our sketchbooks?
Sure.
Let's throw a couple of ours under the microscope
Put your
here.
book down. Go for it. And you brought a few different ones, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to look through mine? Because like, is it weird if I'm looking through my own sketchbook?
I don't think it's weird. Well, talk us through it or tell us.
Well, so this is just a book that I did in 2021. So I got a little date stamp, and what I'll do is I'll write down ideas. I'll just do drawings sometimes. You know, I don't know. It's like, it's a combination of a diary. These I did for my niece when we were hanging out. I'll draw people from observation on the subway. You know, I think that one is nice.
So is that gray pen first?
Yeah, gray pen first, kind of using gray ink as my pencil, and then drawing people on the train.
These are sweet. I've never been able to use a sketchbook at this size. Like I don't know if I have big hands or
you know, I don't know what it is, but I get different effects from different size sketchbooks. So something about this feels like it's like a magical object when it's this small. Yeah. So like I draw differently in it, and I think I am drawing, like I like the idea of drawing full spreads sometimes and like really just changing it up, you know. Oh, nice. I'll write down song lyrics or ideas or whatever bands that I'm listening to, whatever just crosses my mind. I thought this was an interesting one to look at. You know, it's like, it definitely has a lot of that spontaneity. I was watching some Miyazaki movies and trying to get some of their lines down, you know, figuring out how they create characters, adding color sometimes, but not really. I mostly just work in black.
Very Miyazaki characters.
Oh yeah, these are all directly from the movie. Yeah, I was watching you know, Spirited Away, and just being like pausing it and being like, how can I draw their characters, right?
Nice. Oh, sick.
Because I love their art. So
like Eric, that big grandma lady is like Eric Svetlov.
Yeah, well, this is Ubaba from
Spirited
Away. Yeah. Anyway, so we get an idea of what's going on in here. That's one of mine.
Sweet.
Let's see one of yours.
Cool. So I've been making these for the last couple of years.
Which you gave me one. Very kind of you.
Yeah, I just got really into bookbinding. It's really fun.
I think it's really an interesting skill too. It's a good one to have.
It's a good way to save cardboard too, and you get to like
upcycling.
Yeah, and like I have a memory of making the book, so I have a memory of using the book.
Are those gluten-free waffles?
I think I made this before that had to be the case, but you know what?
They could be. Those waffles can be gluten-free.
Yeah, totally.
Whoa.
So my sketchbook, I guess, is just like mostly pen.
Shout out to comics blogger.
Oh yeah, Thomas. I had this cool.
These are great.
I got this cool CMYK pen that someone gave to school, and I was like, I guess I'll try that out. It's not quite dark enough. The ink is like really faint.
Yeah,
but
there's nothing more disappointing than when you get a cool pen and the ink stinks.
Yeah, the ink is not so great.
This is awesome.
But mixing the colors does work pretty well. The idea is you can like create any color by hatching, which it tells you like how to do on the box. I wish the pen was better because
it's a great idea.
But yeah, this is mostly like material exploration. Like I've been looking for a white. Thanks. I've been looking for like a white pen.
Too long didn't read. They all stink.
Yeah, they really do. I mean,
they're all just like kind of the best one is kind of mediocre.
Yeah, these are this is a Posca acrylic.
Yeah,
markers.
right. I have one of those. They're fine.
It's
fine,
not great. But they also pick up the ink, right?
Yeah,
they become gray after a little while.
It's a bummer. Every white pen that I've ever had is a bummer.
Yeah,
I use the whatever the Uniball one sometimes. But,
the Sino.
Yeah, but they're all the same.
They're all the same. But like I was cleaned out a fountain pen. Recently that I've had forever, and like this page is now one of my favorite sketchbook pages because I'm really just trying to work the ink through the pen, but it ended up looking awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like a giant bong rip.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Like I would never do this just drawing. Like
I know,
but now like it makes you want to, you know, it's an accident that you want to try again.
Yeah,
sort of.
Definitely.
A lot of these are just like I'll be talking with Christina and we'll make like some stupid joke like, you don't want to be a negative Nancy, you want to be a positive Nancy.
Yeah, I like
you don't
that.
want to be Debbie Downer, you Debbie Upper. Just
yeah.
Recording
little puns,
these,
play on words,
yeah,
like little things. This is just fantastic.
Thanks. Some of these I do as like time lapses on Instagram. This is also just using the fountain pen, trying to work the ink out. And then just a little observation from our
little Viking.
Yeah.
So when did you do this sketchbook? This is brand new?
I started it, okay, so I went to 5th grade camp as a chaperone last year, well, as a teacher, but also as a chaperone.
Oh, cool.
And I wanted to bring this sketchbook, but it's full of, like, stuff that kids can't see, and
naughty.
I was terrified that, like, the kids would get it.
Right, of course, because they always are you're going to turn to that one page that they shouldn't.
Completely. And so I made this one, like, 2 days before the trip, but I didn't draw that much in it. I drew, like, 2 pages in it, and then this just became my default size. So I think this is actually a little small.
That's
I prefer
so cool.
something like kind of this size.
Oh, I love that.
And then I recently realized I like don't have any ideas for what fashion looks like or what like outfits look like. So I've just been like looking at internet pictures and trying to learn about fashion.
I remember when you posted that. That's fantastic. This feels like stuff you did in the last week. Or I guess it's been
a couple
month,
weeks, yeah, last couple weeks.
So cool.
I mean, I got a million sketchbooks. I just grabbed this one as the first off of that.
I just grabbed a handful as well.
This was at like the doctor's office. I was just drawing other people.
Oh man, that's so good. So where's
sometimes you just want to draw someone getting.
So you put out a sketchbook zine then?
This stuff I haven't, but I have done several in the past.
Should.
It's usually like
this stuff is banging.
I always feel weird about this though because it's like this is all photo reference, which I would never use for comics, and I feel like it's not quite mine. Like these drawings don't feel like they're really fully my drawings. So like if I show them to someone else, like I think they look cool, but I didn't think of them, so I feel like there's like an ownership thing there, not like a copyright ownership, but like I don't feel like I totally did them by myself.
I mean, I don't think that really matters because in the sands of time, like no one will care.
Yeah.
They're just cool drawings and like
secret notes.
Secret notes. Don't look. Okay, I want to do another one. I want to show another one because this has just got me excited. So this is just like a random Kirby study. I found like a panel in like Sandman or something, and
it looks like it was printed on the cover. Like it looks like you like bought it that way.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know. And so what I like to do is draw people on the train. So when I'm on the subway, I like to do as many train portraits as I can for a couple reasons. One, the train is moving, so it's difficult. It's like doing push-ups.
Yeah.
Two, you got to try to get them before they notice you. So sometimes they're not on the train for very long, so it's only a couple stops, This was me actually instructing to a kid like how to draw a pumpkin. Like it's round, but it has ribs. Too, like you have to teach them.
But this is a good thing for kids to learn too, is like the way the lines shift as something turns.
Yeah.
If you look at it straight, it's a straight line, and as it moves, it becomes curvy. It's a cool perspective lesson.
I did a little mud beast.
Nice.
Again for a kid, like how to, the light, you're going to dark from the bottom and then light as it goes up. But again, just trying to get people on the train. Someone next to me had a bouquet of flowers. I drew that. Sweet. I like to draw the hands holding and the fabric folding, I didn't know that would rhyme, but sometimes it just works out. You get a tiger every once in a while.
So you've been drawing animals in Island. Was this part of research for that, or is this just for fun?
I just really love drawing animals. That's fun. I think for this specific tiger, I was in a lesson and a kid goes, draw a tiger. And I go, okay. When a kid puts you on the spot to draw something, that's a special kind of energy.
And that you went like realistic too. When a kid asked me to do it, I always do like cartoony because if I mess it up, it doesn't matter.
Well, she wouldn't let me. She was like, it has to look real, not cartoons. And I was like, okay, all right.
Don't fuck it up, teach.
Yeah. So the cool thing about being in New York on the train is that no one's looking at you. They're all looking at their phone or they're asleep. So it's really great for drawing. Although, the past few years it's been mostly masks, which isn't as fun.
Although didn't you meet a guy recently who's caught you and then you talked about you guys you gave him the drawing?
Yeah. Lately I've been really...
I like that bench one.
I've been kind of wanting to more and more to draw unhoused people because I find them kind of fascinating in a way. And I think it's something like we should be more conscious of. I don't know. I feel like
as a way to document their presence in
the
city?
As a way to document their presence and as a way for people to see them, like to actually be seen. Like they're humans and they deserve to be seen. Yeah. And I think a lot of times any interactions I've had with them that could have gone negatively didn't because I just looked them deeply in the eyes.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference. Like,
Acknowledgement.
I feel like in the city we're quick to dismiss everyone. So that's it. So this is like a sketchbook, and you know the thing is like I'm a lefty, so I actually go from the back to the front. I draw this way, and so I'll date when I start, and then I'll usually date it when I finish. This one I didn't. Well, November 7th, I guess. I didn't date the back, but normally I'll date the back when I finish it, so that I know like it's a piece of history.
Yeah, I like to date the pages too. I think it's just for fun. Sweet.
I don't want to
keep going.
No, I don't need to talk about this one, but I do want to talk about how I was with a student one time and he wrote Jesus, but he misspelled it. So now I just want to create a character named Jesus, but it's spelled like this,
That's
and it's
great.
a totally different guy.
You should.
Oh, we were talking about planning. So really quickly, I'll say I planned a whole a whole issue here. This is all drawings for the comic. So there'll be some thumbnails. Every once in a while, one of my books will just be straight up comic. And the whole thing, front to back, will be, and like a Paul Pope sneaking in there. You know.
I love this.
Yeah, just like exploring with some color. But it'll be just like all thumbnails for the thing. And like even some of the stuff where I'm like, this is 4 pages. And like this drawing makes it in. Like almost
sweet.
Exactly, you know?
That's awesome.
So it's like, there's some things, and I keep telling people, there's some things you can only do small.
Yeah.
You won't draw them well if they're big. And so like, I think that's really important.
You're gonna see my version of that for ATP.
Yeah.
This is my, these are my thumbnails.
I don't get it.
So this is the cover.
Is that just you crossing them off as you go
pages.
to finish them?
Look,
I see.
So it's like, these are the beats, like some action, start the big action, bring the big dude in here somewhere.
Okay,
some kind of
interesting.
cliffhanger.
So this is more of an overview.
It's
this
like
is
pacing, yeah.
Yeah, it's pacing. I see. Okay.
I never do thumbnails though. That always just feels like extra work.
Yeah, well, I need to figure out my spacing sometimes, and I need to see like how the action's gonna play out on the thing, and I want to make sure that the drawing that I'm gonna make is like actually cool and will look cool and not whack,
that makes sense.
you know. But I keep 3 different types of sketchbooks going. I do the small ones, and then I do a bigger one where I'll do like this type of thing where I'll for finished art.
I like the colored pen to start. I'm gonna try that out. That,
it was really
pen
fun.
Or the red pen or whatever you got.
Yeah, I don't
You
know.
gotta just leave these here so I can scan them and make a book out of them.
You said you like this drawing. I'm gonna show this one. Well, let's see. That becomes the back cover of one of the books.
Oh yeah.
So I did this in one of Josh's classes, and then I just kept it. It's like 2022, but I wanted to show this one drawing because you said you liked it. This is another Subway drawing.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that one. I think this is like the mixtures of line qualities or the gesture or something or the hand. There's something lively about that one.
Thanks.
Not that the other ones don't have that, but
This sketchbook I started when I went to Maui. If you want to get good sketchbook drawings, go on vacation by yourself.
Oh,
Because
you went to Maui by yourself?
I went to Maui by myself and I just drew everything I saw. Now I sat here and drew this washed up like log driftwood for like 3 hours.
That's sick.
Right? Which you'd never be able to do if you were on vacation with somebody else.
That's true.
Like draw a piece of driftwood for
these
3
are
hours.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've never really traveled by myself except to go to a con or go to a show or something.
I caught some baseball games while I was down there. I was just through a lot of nature studies, actually. I did see palm trees that I really like. I actually like this one.
Yeah.
And then I imagine them like fireworks.
Yeah.
Like trying to get a palm tree down with a brush pen was a real cool, fun, unique kind of exercise.
Yeah, well, that's why drawing from life is so great, and that's what I always
love
say
it.
about life drawing in general. Even if it's a posed model, they're not totally still, and so the drawing will have life. Nice, the drawing will have life to it because the thing you're drawing is alive, or it's in life, it's in real life, and so the drawing, it's less about accuracy and it's more about you're like recording the time you spent looking at that thing. So the drawing is almost just a vehicle to get you to stare at that piece.
Yeah,
of
to be
3 hours.
present.
Yeah, to be present.
Yeah, to be present. I agree. I think, oftentimes I'll do that kind of trick question thing that a teacher does and ask kids like, what's an artist's greatest tool? And it's like, well, it's seeing. It's like, to what degree can you see something?
Yeah.
Do you really look at it?
Right.
Or do you just glance? And being present makes all the difference, I think.
Totally. And for people who are, quote unquote non-artists, drawing can still be a really valuable way just to like look at a thing you wouldn't otherwise look at very much.
Everyone draws when they're kids, right? But we all stop at some point.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we stop?
I don't know.
Because we think we're not good? That's not true. There's no good or bad with drawing. So just don't stop. I had this thought the other day, like we all start drawing when we're kids. The cessation of drawing, the stopping, does that lead to like unskillful or violent behavior down the road? Like, do you become obsessed with like adult themes because you're no longer connected to the part of you that you used to draw as a kid?
Interesting.
Because so many adults stop drawing. Why?
I don't know.
And I've met a lot of people that do draw, and of course, you know, you're always going to get a couple people who are, you know, on their own plane of existence. But for the most part, with a huge brush, I can say almost everyone that I meet that draws as an adult are like chill, good people. Right? I've had good experiences, I should say.
Sure.
Right?
I don't know. There might be something to be said for being observant, or maybe that leads to some kind of empathy or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
It
could be the presence.
Yeah.
It could be the connection that you have to that part of you that was a kid. Like you protected a part of it.
Maybe.
And that part is a good thing.
Or even just that you're processing your experience through something, right? You're not just looking at stuff and wandering around.
Yeah. Interesting.
There's always something in your head of like, I could use this experience in my work in some way. So like you're engaged in your daily life in a way that's more than just looking and more than just moving. You're like, how will this filter through? Yeah, how will this filter through whatever my craft is in some way?
I love it. So yeah, the moral of the story is like keep drawing.
Yeah, keep drawing, keep a sketchbook, and publish
keep a sketchbook.
sketchbooks.
Let's see your sketchbooks. I want to see people's sketchbooks. So give us links, post them in the comments, and hit us up. We're on Instagram, right? Nick Forker, Mike Shea, right?
Susan Saran Wrap.
Susan Saran Wrap. We'll post. Yeah, I mean, you'll see us. We're
Comics
around.
people.
Yeah.
Word.
Comics people, New York City.
Sweet.
Look us up.
All right.
See you next time.
Doodles.
Toodles. Toodles.